Recently, there have been a couple of haboobs in the Phoenix area. These are huge dust storms that are seen in the desert but rarely seen here in Arizona. This is a picture of a haboob that was close to Phoenix. Can you imagine living with dust storms like this for a very long time? This is Mr. Hayes. He was my favorite history teacher. He used to tell us lots of stories about growing up during the Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl took place during the 1930s in the Midwest, especially Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, parts of Texas, and even into New Mexico. Mr. Hayes told us a story about his mother. His mother used to sit up late at night and place wet cloths over his face and his siblings' faces while they were sleeping. She would change the cloths throughout the night so that way they wouldn't breathe in as much dust during the storms during the night. Many mothers did this during this terrible time. One of the stories Mr. Hayes told us was rather funny, though at the time it didn't seem that funny. During the Dust Bowl, Mr. Hayes was just a kid. He wasn't even a teenager. He had an older sister and he was a typical younger brother. Mr. Hayes' older sister was dating a young man that Mr. Hayes, as a young boy, really didn't like. Mr. Hayes used to play little pranks on him and tricks on him, and it got to the point where the boyfriend didn't really trust Mr. Hayes. It was almost like the boy who cried wolf. In the Hayes' living room there was a big crystal chandelier with lots of little crystal pendants, and underneath the chandelier was a pretty couch and sofa. Now all of the Hayes' were told by their father not to go into the living room because there was so much dust on the chandelier. He was afraid that just the vibrations from walking into the room or sitting on the couch could bring down the chandelier. The sister's boyfriend came to pick her up, and while he was waiting, he started to walk into the living room. Mr. Hayes told him not to, that it was dangerous, but of course the boyfriend, after all the other pranks, didn't believe him, so he walked into the living room and sat down on the couch. The boyfriend and Mr. Hayes were horrified as the chandelier came crashing down. All of those crystals just shattered all around the young man. Thankfully, the young man wasn't hurt, and he always believed Mr. Hayes whenever he warned him after that. Mr. Hayes' family survived the Dust Bowl and left their home and moved to Arizona to start a new life. Mr. Hayes grew up, went to college, and joined the United States Peace Corps, where he served the people of a tiny island in Micronesia called Yap, and later he became our social studies teacher. Today there is a drought going on in Texas that is very similar to what happened in the 1930s in the Midwest. If you go online and do a search, I'm sure you will find many stories that compare the Texas drought to the Dust Bowl that we're learning about today.